Hi guys, today we're going to be looking at evaluating algebraic expressions, which means we're going to be plugging a number in to replace a variable within an expression and then simplifying that expression using the order of operations. So one thing is when you're looking at problems like example 1 and the number 3 is multiplying by x, when you replace the number for x, try to use parentheses as showing multiplication. Okay, so try to avoid using the dot or the x if you can. We tend to use parentheses to show 3 times negative 8 and 2 times negative 3. And now you're going to follow order of operations, which means you're going to multiply before adding. So 3 times negative 8 is negative 24, plus 2 times negative 3 is negative 6, negative 24 plus negative 6 is negative 30. All right, you should try example 2 on your own and see if your work matches up with mine. Pause the video for yourself. So we have 5 times negative 3 minus 2 times negative 8 should have given you negative 15, and then be careful, negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16. So negative 15 plus 16 would give us positive 1. Okay, in example 3, it says negative x, but x is a negative. It's negative 8. So for these examples, the negative that's in front of the x goes outside of parentheses, and then you put x in the parentheses as negative 8. So you end up with 2 negatives. Same thing with minus, and then y is a negative, negative 3. So be careful when there's a minus in the problem and then you're plugging a number in that's a negative. You end up with a double negative. And 2 negatives make a positive. So negative negative 8 becomes positive 8. And negative negative 3 becomes positive 3. So we're looking at just 8 plus 3, which is 11. Okay. Okay, in the next example, we have x times y plus x squared. So we have negative 8 times negative 3. And then plus, and make sure you have x squared. The x has to be in parentheses. So we have negative 8 squared. It's very important that you put the negative 8 in parentheses because we're saying that we're multiplying negative 8 times negative 8. If you don't include the parentheses, then you're just saying minus 8 times 8, which is different. Okay, so negative 8 times negative 3 is going to give you negative 24. And then plus, and negative 8 squared is positive 64. So that's because a negative times a negative is a positive. Negative 8 times negative 8 is positive 64. And then we have negative 24 plus 64, which is going to give us positive 44. Okay, down below we have examples that sometimes get a little tricky. Example 5, negative a squared. The negative that you see there gets placed in front of parentheses, and then within those parentheses you're substituting a negative number squared. Okay, now this is a problem that a lot of kids think about. Some kids think it's positive 25, some kids think it's negative 25. So take a minute and think about, what do you think is the correct answer, positive 25 or negative 25? The correct answer is it's negative 25. And the reason it's negative 25 is the order of operations. That first you do the exponents, which gives you a positive 25. And then this negative that you see in front comes down and turns it back into a negative. It's sort of like a negative 1 multiplying by that answer, turning it into negative 25. Okay, now would be a good time to pause the video and try example 6. Example 6, you have a squared. You need to have parentheses. On a test, I have to take off points if you don't have parentheses. Minus, again, parentheses, negative 10 squared. So negative 5 squared should give you positive 25. Bring down the minus in the middle, and then negative 10 squared gives you positive 100. So we end up with 25 minus 100, which is negative 75. Okay, going down to example 7, xy squared is saying x times y squared. So only the y is squared. So we're doing x is -5 times y is -4 squared. Make sure you understand that only the -4 is being squared. So this is 16 positive times -5. And that gives us -80 as an answer. Now if you look at example 8, which is right next to example 7, I purposely made it look very similar. It says xy squared also, but this time the squared is around the whole set of parentheses. So here we're squaring the product. We're squaring x times y. We're going to square the answer when you multiply x times y. So we're going inside the parentheses, -5 times -4, and then that answer squared. Notice that in the parentheses I put a dot for multiplication, and I did that because I didn't want to have parentheses, parentheses, and then parentheses around the whole thing. That would be a lot of parentheses and it would look confusing. So I switched to a dot, and that makes it a little more obvious that I have to first simplify. Inside I get 20, and then squared equals 400. Alright, so example 7 and example 8 look really similar, but the squared on parentheses means you do what's inside the parentheses first, then square the answer. In example 7, only the y has the squared. Okay, there's no parentheses. So you're only squaring the y. Okay, looking at example 9, you should pause this and try these on your own. -m. So you have -3 minus n is -6. And this is all squared. Now, when you have lots of parentheses like this, what you could do is change the outside ones into brackets. That makes things a little bit easier. Like this. And so you end up with 3 plus 6. And now I can switch back to parentheses, which is 9 squared, which is 81. All right, I'm going to stop there. And you guys, we will talk about the last two on Wednesday. All right, just go through example 9 for today and work on your homework. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks.